rope tightly, and shouted to his friends, "Better give me a hand, fellows. Looks like I found real treasure in the well." His companions rushed to the well and helped him to pull out the stranger holding onto the rope. Standing before them was a healthy, handsome youth, beaming with an angelic smile. They saw in him a handsome prize, for money was all that mattered to them. Immediately they clapped iron shackles on his feet and took him alone to Egypt, far away from his beloved homeland of Canaan. All over the Egyptian city the news spread that an unusually handsome, robust young slave was on sale. People gathered by the hundreds at the slave market. Some were spectators, others were bidders, the elite and the rich, each one craning his neck to view the handsome specimen. The auctioneer had a field day as the bidding went wild, each buyer trying to outbid the other. Eventually, the Aziz, the chief minister of Egypt, outbid all the others and took Joseph to his mansion. The Quran describes this scene as follows: "And there came a caravan of travelers. They sent their water drawer, and he let down his bucket into the well. He said, 'What a good news! Here is a boy.' So they hid him as merchandise, a slave, and Allah was the all-knower of what they did. They sold him for a low price, for a few dirhams, for a few silver coins. They were of those who regarded him insignificant. He, the man from Egypt who bought him, said to his wife, 'Make his stay comfortable. Maybe he will profit us, or we shall adopt him as a son.' Thus did we establish Joseph in the land, that we might teach him the interpretation of events. See how Allah the Almighty reveals the substance of this long story from its beginning, and Allah has full power and control over his affairs. But most of men know not. The chains of slavery have closed on Joseph. He was cast into the well, deprived of his father, picked from the well, made a slave, sold at the market, and made the property of this man, the Aziz, the chief minister. The hazards followed in quick succession, leaving Joseph helpless, Joseph's master. What we see as hazards and slander is the first step of the ladder on Joseph's way to greatness. Allah is decisive in his action. His plan is carried out despite the plans of others, and while theirs are still being made, so he spoils their plan. And Allah's promise is realized. Allah has promised Joseph prophethood. Love for Joseph was thrust into the heart of man who bought him, and he was a man of no mean position. He was an important personage, one of the ruling class of Egypt. Therefore, Joseph was pleasantly surprised when the chief minister of Egypt ordered his men to remove the heavy shackles from his swollen feet. He was also surprised when he told Joseph not to betray his trust. He would not be ill-treated if he behaved himself. Joseph smiled at his benefactor, thanked him, and promised to be loyal. Joseph felt at ease, for at last he was sheltered and would be well cared for. He thanked Allah over and over and wondered at the mysteries of life. Not so long ago he had been cast into a deep dark well with no hope of ever coming out alive. Next he was rescued, then enslaved in iron shackles, and now he was moving freely in a luxurious mansion with enough food to enjoy. However, his heart ached with longing for his parents and brother Benjamin, and he shed tears daily. Joseph was made the personal attendant of the chief minister's wife. He was obedient and ever obliging. With his pleasant manners and charming behavior, he won everybody's heart. Joseph's handsomeness became the talk of the town. People referred to him as the most attractive man they had ever seen and wrote poetry about him. His face carried immaculate beauty. The purity of his inner soul and his heart showed in his face, increasing his beauty. People from afar came to the city to have a glimpse of him. The prettiest of maidens and the richest of ladies' nurse to possess him. But not once did he show haughtiness or conceit. He was always humble and polite. Joseph's qualities, the days passed and Joseph grew. Almighty Allah said, and when Joseph attained his full manhood, he gave him wisdom and knowledge, the prophethood. Thus we reward the doers of good. He was given wisdom in affairs and knowledge of life and its condition. He has given the art of conversation, captivation, those who heard him. He was given nobility and self-restraint, which made him an irresistible personality. His master soon knew that Allah had graced him with Joseph. He understood that Joseph was the most honest, straightforward, and noble person he had met in his life. Therefore, he put Joseph in charge of his household, honored him, and treated him as a son. Zuleika's feeling for Joseph. The wife of the chief minister, Zuleika, watched Joseph from day to day. She ate with him, talked with him, listened to him, and her wonder increased over the passage of time. Joseph was soon confronted with his second trial. The chief minister's wife, Zuleika, could not resist the handsome Joseph, and her obsession with him caused her sleepless nights. She fell in love with him, and it was painful for her to be so close to a man, yet to be unable to hold him. Yet she was not a wayward woman, for in her position she could get any man she desired. By all accounts, she must have been a very pretty and intelligent lady, or why would the chief minister have chosen her of all the pretty women in the kingdom? Although she bore him no child, he would not take another wife, as he loved her passionately. The Quran raises the curtain on the scene of this fierce and devouring love on the part of the lady. Allah the Almighty told us, and she in whose house he was sought to seduce him to do an evil act. She closed the doors and said, "Come on, O you." He said, "I seek refuge in Allah, for our Allah forbid. Truly, he, your husband, is my master. He made my stay agreeable, so I will never betray him. Verily, the Zalimun, evildoers, will never be successful. Indeed, she did desire him, and he would have inclined to her desire, had he not seen the evidence of his Lord. Thus it was that we might turn away from evil and illegal sexual intercourse. Surely he was one of our chosen guided slaves." Joseph's feelings for Zuleika. Commentators are unanimous about her intention of disobedience, but disagree about his own intention. There are those who say that she tempted him and he tempted her to sin, although he did not follow through with his intent. Others say that she merely wanted him to kiss her, and he attempted to strike her. Yet others say that this anxiety had been there before this incident. There was a psychological disturbance in Joseph when he reached adolescence, which Almighty Allah rid him of. The safest commentary for us is that there is temptation and resistance in the verse, for he most high stated, and indeed she did desire him, and he would have inclined to her desire. She said that this is a temptation and resistance, meaning that she had tried to seduce him, and he, not seeing the proof of Allah, he would have been seduced. This is in keeping with the infallibility of prophets, as it suits the words which immediately follow. Thus it was that we might turn away from him evil and illegal sexual intercourse. Surely he was one of our chosen, guided slaves. This verse proves that Joseph was an upright worshipper of Allah. It also testifies to his rescue from the authority of Satan. The Almighty said to the devil Iblis on the day of creation, "Certainly you shall no authority over my slaves except those who follow you of the Ghawin, Mushrikeen, and those who go astray, criminals, polytheists, and evildoers." Zulayha's false accusation. Joseph's refusal only heightened her passion. As he moved to the door to escape, she ran after him and caught hold of his shirt, like a drowning person clinging to the boat. In her tugging, she tore his shirt and held the torn piece in her hand. They reached the door together. It opened suddenly. There stood her husband and a relative of hers. Almighty Allah said, so they raced with one another to the door, and she tore his shirt from the back. They both found her husband, at the door, and as he opened the door, he saw her husband standing in front of him. The sly woman immediately changed her tone to anger, and showing the torn piece of the shirt in her hand, asked her,